When I think about Zambia, I think about being pickpocketed by a baboon. I think about losing my jacket at the safari in Botswana. I think about early mornings and the nonstop pace. I think about feeling cared for and loved. I think about our precious team. And I think about the constant reminder that God is absolutely everywhere. My mind didn't wander too far while we were there. It didn't really have a chance to. I felt like a photographer dropped out of the sky into a world I didn't know. Do your best. It was joyful. It was unexpected, and it was tiring. It was a moving picture of God at work. We were there to shoot moving pictures for Beyond the Gate Missions, a ministry that exists for the same reason ministries all over the rest of the world exist, to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. At the missions base, watching Chris and Leslie operate was like watching a machine operate, smooth and sure, purpose and goal right there in front of them. Meals prepped, planning and having meetings, the interns putting out little fires, working with us, carting people around. And this last one they do a lot of, especially using this vehicle deemed the Buffalo, a 25-seater lifted safari-type truck driven by this guy named Dominic. What is God doing there? Well, first, there is not even just Zambia, but a great deal of the southern part of Africa, and even up into the northern areas towards the more predominantly Muslim regions. Amazing numbers of people are coming to know him as the God of Israel, El Elohe Israel, through the work of this team. And I don't just mean Chris and Leslie, though they do shepherd everything. I mean the multipliers, the interns, the employees, the friends. God's working through them all. We did what we came to do. Chris and Leslie told the BTG story and made appeals for assistance. We interviewed a king. Church planters and multipliers talked about their activities in their respective communities and villages, including miracles they had personally witnessed, like a woman who had been blind for a year receiving her sight after one of the multipliers prayed for her for an hour during a church service. That story was told to me by the multiplier as I walked with him into a village we camped in that night called Macha. When we were in Macha, one of Chris and Leslie's friends named Pastor Brett gave a sermon to the villagers. And I remember him saying, when Jesus asks you for what you have, it is so he can give you what he has. And I thought this was a beautiful interchange. We were there giving what we had to tell the BTG story in order to share the love of Christ. And while we were in the process of doing this, we were receiving the love of Christ through everyone around us. Under 2 tiny light bulbs hanging across 100 feet of string, lighting the entire crowd below. We danced together to worship music in a language we didn't understand. And it was a picture of heaven, where every tribe and language and people and nation worshiped the King. In terms of the enemy, secular humanistic values aren't really taken for granted there like they are in the U.S. Much tradition and witchcraft exists, but with that also comes an openness to the spiritual. God has been less systematically shut out there, and hearts are open to the idea of God, which is partly why droves of people become saved when they put on one of their crusades in a local village. It seems to be more so filling in the blanks than writing a counter-argument, though the powers of darkness do indeed exist there. Zambia is beautiful in July. Even though it's their winter, it can still get warm during the day, but in the mornings and evenings it's balmy, and it can actually get pretty cold at night. One night, exhausted after a long day, I set an alarm for 4 a.m. to take a long exposure of the stars, and taking that picture was worth it. Shooting everything there was worth it. Exotic animals abound in the wild, alongside plants I couldn't guess the names of. It wasn't quite like walking around on Mars, but maybe like the base camp before you go up to Mars. It's one thing to say God is everywhere, but another to see it. And he's there in spades. We were 8,500 miles away from home. I didn't know any of the customs, the plants. I didn't speak any of the 72 languages. And I didn't know the people except the team I came with. but I immediately recognized their God because he is my God. I think that can sustain any endeavor, even on Mars.
That is priceless. Yes.